Naruto. I awakened the devouring blood successor. Chapter 1. Click. Boom. The heavy rain was pouring, and in a mountain stream, 3 figures were galloping. Fire escape. Magnificent fireball technique. Suddenly a loud shout came from the right. A dense ball of fire attacked the 3 of them. Fire escape. Magnificent fireball technique. Among the 3 people who escaped, a tall man immediately stepped forward, quickly formed seals with his hands, and then launched ninjutsu. 2 huge fireballs bombarded each other, and then they were both annihilated. Did you finally catch up? Uchiha River smiled casually, turned around, and looked at Senju Kumi and Senju Dan. GMA, take Li Ming and go first, I will bear the burden here. Sichuan. Senju Kumi's eyes turned red instantly. Father. Senju Dan gritted her teeth, her eyes that should have been innocent and clear were filled with deep-seated hatred at this moment. She is a time traveler, and this is the world of Naruto. When she first came here, Senju Dan was still excited. For a while. Because his mother is from the Senju clan, and his father is also from the Uchiha clan. Although he has not awakened the wood release and Sharingan, he is still very happy. In the previous life, Senju Dan did not experience it. Parental love, although this is the world of Naruto, he finally realized the love of his parents. However, just one day ago, when Senju Liming celebrated his 7th birthday, Uchi's dream was broken. The Bo clan and the Konoha Anbu suddenly rushed to their home, and the matter between their father and mother was discovered. Although the father begged, the Konoha Anbu and the Uchiha clan firmly stated that Senju Dan should not exist in the world. Therefore, Uchiha River escaped with Senju Kumi and Senju Dan. Run with the dawn. Leave this to me. A loud shout made Kionju Liming wake up a little. You can't escape, the blood of the Uchiha clan will never be allowed to be tainted by others. A man came over and said in a cold voice. Fugaku, he has not awakened the Sharingan, and I also asked him to take his mother's surname. This, Uchiha River once again lowered his posture and begged. Now is the time of war. Your family won't allow you to do this. Uchiha Fugaku's face turned cold. He quickly took out a kunai and rushed towards the Uchiha River. You go quickly. Uchiha Chuan knew that he could not escape, and then began to rush towards Uchiha Fugaku crazily. Even if he died, he must let his son live. Senju Kumi endured the grief in his heart and hugged Senju Dan quickly escape from here. In the dark cave, there is a cliff outside and a rushing river below. If I had the strength, my father would not die. Senju Dan's fists clenched loudly, and her young face was full of struggle. Senju Kumi also had a sad look on her face. Found it. Suddenly a voice came from the entrance of the cave. 3 Konoha Anbu quickly rushed in, and sure enough they saw Senju Kumi and Senju Dan. Dan. Run away. A look of determination flashed across Senju Kumi's face. He picked up the kunai in his hand and stabbed the 3 Konoha Anbu. Senju Kumi was also a ninja, but his strength was only that of a chunin, and those 3 the strength of the famous Konoha Anbu was higher than that of Senju Kumi. After a while, Senju Kumi was stabbed in several vital parts by kunai. Mother. Tears rolled down from Senju Liming's eyes. Senju Kumi quickly came to Senju Liming's side, fought hard, and left the cave. Otherwise, there would be no way to escape. After leaving the cave, stood on the edge of the cliff, Senju Kumi no longer had much strength, and her body began to lose strength due to the loss of a lot of blood. Call out. After a few breaking news, in addition to the few Konoha Anbu, several more ninjas from the Uchiha clan came. Finally caught you. The ninjas of the Uchiha clan slowly gathered around. Run quickly. Senju Kumi used her last strength to say these 2 words. She couldn't control her body and fell backwards, with the cliff behind her. Senju Dan ran towards her mother with all her strength, but was held tightly by Konoha Anbu and could not move. Ah! Senju Liming watched Senju Kumi fall off the cliff. Suddenly she felt a sting in her eyes, and then she quickly covered her eyes and screamed. Kill him quickly and take the body back. The ninja of the Uchiha clan said coldly. Detection of strong host emotions. The system starts to boot. Host awakening ability. Black bone devouring. Host awakening ability. Cell phagocytosis. Thousand Hands Dawn didn't pay attention to the voice in her head, she only felt that her body was getting hotter and hotter, and her eyes were getting more and more stinging. Ah! Thousand Hand Dawn once again let out a heart-rending roar. It is not difficult to hear the overwhelming hatred in this voice. It seems that something has entered his mind. Thousand Hand Dawn quickly absorbed it, and then the sound it's like coming from the Nine Netherworld. Devouring black bones. I saw that Thousand Hands Dawn suddenly opened his hands, and two black bones came out from his palms. The front of the bones formed a sharp cone shape, and they fiercely pierced the man behind Thousand Hands Dawn. Konoha Anbu. The eyes of that Konoha Anbu suddenly became frightened, and his body shrank at a speed visible to the naked eye. Ding! Devouring success. The host's strength has been upgraded to Genin. A voice flashed in his mind, and the Anbu in front of him fell to the ground. At this moment, the Anbu's eye sockets were sunken and his face was pale, like a corpse that had been dead for a long time. The power of chi and blood, a flash of red light flashed in Keonju Liming's eyes, and he felt that his body was a little stronger. This guy is a monster. The other two Konoha Anbu couldn't help but feel a little scared when they saw one of their companions being killed like this. Senju Liming slowly raised his head, with only crazy killing intent on his face, and the darkness in his eyes. The colored pupils also changed at this moment. They slowly turned into scarlet color, and around the pupils, there were three black magatama slowly rotating. This guy actually awakened the Sharingan. The Uchiha clan members suddenly shouted. Then we can't keep him. Keonju Liming took the black bones in his hands back into his body, and the magatama in his eyes began to rotate crazily. Black bone cuttings. Thousand Hand Dawn shouted, and the black bones from before were suddenly pierced from the surface of Thousand Hand Dawn's body. Rather than bones, they are more like cone-like black tentacles. Dozens of these black tentacles have the ability to swallow. This is also the swallowing system of Thousand Hands Dawn awakening. Ah! The screams echoed around this cliff, and with just one move, everyone here was killed. Thousand Hands Dawn's consciousness also became a little blurry. Looking at the endless pool of blood in front of him, the pungent smell of blood immediately made Thousand Hands Dawn wake up slightly. But his consciousness was still very vague. Keonju Liming slowly walked to the edge of the cliff, raised his head, and looked at the extremely dark sky. If this is the dawn, then I would like to fall into darkness forever. Keonju Liming felt that his eyelids were getting heavier and heavier, and he forced himself to stay away from this area. Finally, in a jungle, he fell asleep. Early the next morning, Keonju Liming woke up faintly. He even felt that yesterday was just a nightmare. As long as he woke up today, everything would be as usual. But, the deep pain in his heart made him know that all this was not a dream. This world is a cruel hell. If you don't have strength, it's wrong. If you don't have strength, you will die. Uchiha Fugaku. The Uchiha clan. Konoha Anbu. Konoha high-level officials. Thousand Hand Dawn's face became ferocious, and there was a bloodthirsty light in his eyes. But he knew that if he wanted to take revenge, he must have strength. He couldn't just die like this. He had to complete his revenge. Thousand Hand Dawn took 2 deep breaths. It sounds like it's not safe here because it's still within the land of fire. Moreover, he doesn't believe that the people in Konoha will let him go. As for his own system, Senju Dan also knows it. I have 2 abilities, one is Black Bone Devouring, which can penetrate the opponent's body through the black bones and devour the opponent's chakra, the power of the opponent's blood, and the opponent's ninjutsu. Just like now, I have mastered several ninjutsu from yesterday's Konoha Anbu, and the chakra in my body now has reached the genin level. There is also an ability, Cell-phagocytosis. When this ability is activated, cells can be engulfed. You can swallow the opponent's blood boundary, and you can also swallow the opponent's physique. In other words, your own physique becomes one that will not reject any organs or cells. Even if you don't have wood release, you can swallow one back. Suddenly, there was a sound of breaking wind on the right. Keonju Liming was immediately alert and quickly jumped towards the tree above. Did he catch up with the opponent's shuriken so quickly? A flash of light flashed in Keonju Liming's eyes. He used chakra to sense it and found that there was only one person on the other side. Wind escape. Big breakthrough. When the Konoha Anbu saw that they had missed, they quickly formed seals and used the wind escape breakthrough. The strong wind suddenly hit the direction of Senju Dan, and Senju Dan hurriedly hid behind a thick tree trunk. The opponent should have the strength of a Chunin, but he currently only has the strength of a Genin. If there is a head-on confrontation, he will definitely suffer the loss. The Konoha Anbu took out the kunai from the ninja tool bag, because he had already seen the Senjudan. I saw him slowly moving towards Senjudan. After all, the full name of Anbu is the Assassination Tactics Special Force, and they are naturally very proficient in the art of assassination. At this time, Senjudan also slowly stretched out. In his right palm, he has the black bone, a powerful weapon, so there is no need to use kunai in this situation. The Anbu got closer and closer, and finally suddenly used the kunai in his hand to stab downwards. Senjudan. At this time, Senjudan suddenly raised his head and aimed at the opponent's kunai. The opponent's kunai was fast and accurate, and it plunged into Senjudan's left hand, but there was no look of pain on Qianju Liming's face, but instead a look of cruelty. He stretched out his right palm, and a black bone suddenly grew out of the palm of his right palm, and the cone-shaped bone penetrated directly. Hit the other person's chest. Devouring black bones. Thousand Hand Dan quickly started to devour, and saw the blood of the opponent's body flowing into his own body along his palm at a speed visible to the naked eye. For a moment, Thousand Hand Dan felt that the strength in his body had grown stronger, and the chakra, the amount of pain also began to increase, and the injury on the left hand was also recovering rapidly. Ding! Devouring success. Obtained. Wind attribute, Wind escape great breakthrough, Wind escape gale wind palm. Thousand Hands Dan was slightly stunned, not expecting that even the attributes could be swallowed up. Kicking away the shriveled corpse in front of him, Thousand Hands Liming stood up, feeling that his strength had grown slightly again. The Uchiha clan, the top brass of Konoha, just wait for me. Senjudan swears that the blood debt must be repaid with blood. Now is the time when the Third Ninja World War breaks out. Senjudan already knows where he should go, the battlefield. Only on the battlefield can he let himself go rapidly increase strength. At the same time, a large number of Konoha ninjas arrived in the Cliff Valley yesterday, including members of the Uchiha clan. The method is too cruel. A Konoha pursuer couldn't bear to say. Because in front of them, there were corpses that were torn apart. The internal organs were scattered on the ground, as if someone had cut them from the middle with a knife. Never let Thousand Hands Dan go. We can't rule out whether this was done by enemy ninjas. Then these people followed the blood stains and some small traces to a jungle. After arriving here, they saw the tragic death of a Konoha Anbu. Keep chasing. At this moment, Thousand Hands Liming had arrived at the lower reaches of the river. After cleaning the blood on his body, he quickly left here. Because he knew that Konoha's Anbu were masters of tracking, and he could not erase all traces now. The only thing he could do was to escape quickly. The escape continued until dusk, and Qian Hand Liming had to stop to rest. He stuffed 2 soldiers' grain pills into his mouth, and then sat quietly on the big tree to recover his strength. At the same time, his eyes opened the 3 Magatama Sharingan, observing the nearby plants and trees in the dusk. Suddenly, the sound of a dead tree breaking reached Qian Hand Liming's ears, and he instantly became alert. 2 scarlet Sharingan eyes were staring at the grass on the left. Call out. Suddenly a shuriken shot out from the grass quickly. The target is directly at Thousand Hands Dan. Senjudan quickly took out a kunai and blocked the shuriken. The grass below shook for a while, and then 2 ninjas from the Uchiha clan emerged. Thousand Hands of Dan. You actually activated the Sharingan. And it's still 3 Magatama. One of the Uchiha tribesmen suddenly shouted after seeing the Senjudan above. It seems I have to keep you here today. Another person said coldly. The 3 Magatama Sharingan in Senjudan's eyes is slowly rotating. The increase brought by the 3 Magatama is indeed very good. The dynamic vision has been improved, and the opponent's ninjutsu can also be copied. More subtle changes can be observed. Fire escape. Magnificent fireball technique. Qianju Liming didn't talk nonsense to the 2 people below. He quickly formed seals with his hands, and then his lower abdomen bulged, and then he spat a mouthful of fireball downwards. Flash mob. One of the Uchiha tribesmen yelled, his eyes full of shock. Because the Senjudan in front of him is only a 7-year-old child, and he can actually use the art of the fireball. This is far from the truth. It completely subverted their imagination. Senju Dan held a kunai and attacked the two Uchiha tribesmen like a hungry wolf. Suddenly, Senju Dan felt a trace of excitement in his blood. Comes from the excitement of killing. Those two Uchiha clansmen are only chunin in strength. How could they have thought that Senju Dan was so powerful? The two of them faced the ferocious Thousand Hands Dan, and they began to think about retreating. After Thousand Hands Dan smelled the smell of blood, they felt even more restless in their bodies. Taking advantage of a uchi. The Bo clansman didn't care, and a black bone spur suddenly protruded from his right hand. This bone spur pierced the chest of the Uchiha clansman. Ah! A shrill scream came. However, Kionju Liming closed her eyes and enjoyed it for a while, and murmured in a low voice, "This is the kind of scream, I will make this scream ring all the way to Konoha." The Uchiha tribesman whose chest was pierced quickly lost his breath. The blood in his body followed the bone spurs on his chest and transformed into the power of chi and blood, which poured into Senju Dan's body. The other one after seeing this terrifying and bloody scene, the Uchiha clan members felt coldness emanating from their joints. The Senju Dan in front of them was not a human being. The power of fear drove him to stumble. Kionju Liming looked blankly at the direction in which the other person was fleeing, and there was a bloodthirsty light in his eyes. "Do you know how to escape now?" Senju Dan murmured in a low voice, and then performed a teleportation technique. His figure had already caught up with another Uchiha tribesman. The teleportation technique was naturally obtained from the previous Konoha Anbu. Senju Dan thinking of this, I couldn't help but sigh at the power of my devouring ability. The hunted Uchiha tribesman was already terrified. The Senju Dan locked its aura tightly on the field, and the positions of the hunter and the prey had been exchanged. It's this feeling of chasing that makes Kionju Liming feel that the blood in his body is burning. Every cell in his body is telling him the word excitement. A faint red light can be seen, this is murderous energy. It is visible to the naked eye at this moment. Another Uchiha clan member has been killed. Dan, chase on. Please. Do not kill me. This Uchiha tribesman has already lost the confidence to fight. The terrifying scene before was still vivid in his mind, so at this moment he knelt directly on the ground, just asking for a chance to survive. Is begging for mercy useful? After Kionju Liming saw this scene, the hostility in his body became even more intense, and the oppressive atmosphere in the dense forest fell instantly. These words seemed to be asking the person in front of him, and they also seemed to be asking himself. When he thought of the past few days, his father also begged the high-level officials of Konoha and the Uchiha clan. But what happened? At this point, Senju Akira could no longer control the desire to kill, and stretched out his right hand without mercy. Open your palm. The black bone spurs mercilessly pierced the Uchiha tribesman in front of you. Ah! Amidst a shrill scream, the Uchiha tribesman fell to the ground. Senju Liming took back his right palm, his eyes were indifferent, ruthless, and cold. Just when he wanted to leave, he suddenly felt his body the blood seemed to want to spurt out. This was a strange phenomenon. Thousand Hands Dan slowly stretched out his left hand, and saw that the power of chi and blood broke through his fingers and was pulling him. A ball of blood-red mist condensed in the palm of his hand, and the mist began to surge and roll. Is this phagocytosis? Senju Liming can feel that his second greatest ability has begun to operate. These blood mist are like meridians, and like flesh and blood tentacles, they extend directly towards the corpse of the Uchiha tribesman on the ground. The bloody tentacles there seemed to be a target, and then under Qian Han's Liming's gaze, he plunged directly into the eyes of the corpse. Suddenly, Qian Han's Liming felt a stinging sensation in his eyes, and this feeling came quickly. It went away quickly. After a while, Senju Liming felt that his 3 Magatama Sharingan seemed to be strengthened again. It is indeed a cell phagocytosis. Even the Sharingan can be swallowed. Senju Dan finally understood that devouring the opponent's Sharingan can also strengthen his own Sharingan. Then he quickly turned back and used the same method to devour the Uchiha clansman he killed earlier. At this moment it was already dark. Qian Han Liming was sitting on the top of a big tree, his body was silently absorbing the power of chi and blood. At this time, he only felt that his strength was improving every moment, and he raised his head and looked at the quiet night. Thousand Hands Dan whispers softly. Only killing can make me grow rapidly. I must leave for the battlefield. After resting for a while, Senju-dan set off directly. It was now the time of the Third Ninja War, and there was war everywhere. Senju-dan was going to the nearest battlefield, but Konoha's pursuers were still chasing after him. However, Thousand Hands Dan is like a cunning lone wolf. Once a member of the team is left alone, they will definitely be killed by Thousand Hands Dan. After a month of hunting, 47 Konoha Anbu were dead, and more than 20 ninjas sent by the Uchiha clan were also dead. Without exception, the bodies of these deceased people were all split open by sharp weapons, and they were like mummies without any energy and blood. The corpses of the Uchiha clan were even more cruel. The two eyes of each corpse disappeared without a trace. And after such a long pursuit, the ninjas of Konoha and Uchiha discovered that Senju-dan seemed to be gradually getting stronger. We must return to the village to report to Lord Hokage that Senju-dan is out of control. We must send elites. The Anbu of Konoha looked at the corpse in front of them and felt a chill in their bodies. These pursuers decided to return to the village to report. After a month of escape, Senju-dan's strength has reached the level of Chunin. This is still thank you so much for the pursuers of Konoha. Otherwise, if Senju-dan slowly worked hard, he wouldn't know it until the year of the monkey. Moreover, Senju-dan also discovered a phenomenon, that is, he had devoured Uchiha every time. After the eyes of the tribe, his own eyes will be strengthened. He also asked the system, and the answer given by the system also made Thousand Hands Dan very excited. As long as he swallows a certain amount of energy and blood, his own eyes can open the kaleidoscope. It is said that the people killed right now are not enough. It would be better if the people of the Uchiha clan were swallowed, and the opening of the kaleidoscope would be accelerated faster. At this moment, Konoha's Anbu has already learned all the news about the Senju-dan. Give back to the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. Didn't you expect that Thousand Hands of Dan has grown to such an extent? Sarutobi Hiruzen took a deep breath and looked out the window with a gloomy look. At this moment, the door of the Hokage's office was opened by someone. Danzo, Sarutobi Hiruzen never looked back. My roots also got the news that so many ninjas have died in Konoha Anbu recently, and they were killed by a 7-year-old child. Are all Anbu ninjas that weak? Shimura Danzo walked in slowly, staring at Sarutobi Hiruzen's back. That child seems to. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned. There seems to be something different. It is this different ability that allows him to grow so quickly. Shimura Danzo took over the words and then said in a low voice. Just leave this matter to my roots, Thousand Hands Dan cannot let it go. Otherwise it will be a disaster for Konoha. Make it cleaner. A cold light also flashed in Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes. Shimura Danzo slowly left the Hokage's office without any change on his face. As darkness fell, dozens of root ninjas rushed out towards the outskirts of Konoha in the darkness. At the same time, the same scene was also played out in the Uchiha clan. We cannot let Senju-dan's body fall into the hands of the Konoha gang. We must send elite ninjas to hunt him down. Several elders of the Uchiha clan are discussing countermeasures. Uchiha Fugaku, you arrange this matter. Several elders set their sights on Uchiha Fugaku. Don't worry, elders, I'll take care of this matter. Uchiha Fugaku's eyes also flashed with a cold murderous intent. A few days later, Senju-dan finally arrived at the junction of the country of fire and the country of water. The ninjas of Kurikage village and Konoha were all in front of them. There was a fight at the junction, and the blood energy soaring into the sky condensed into blood mist. The rainwater was stained with blood red. Thousand Hands Dan felt the cold rainwater, the smell of blood mixed in the rainwater, and the blood in his body. He also started to get excited. At this moment, he has entered the battlefield. Either you die or I die. There are about 100 Konoha ninjas and 80 Kurigakure ninjas in this battlefield, but as thousands. With the entry of Hand Dan, the battle situation seems to be shaken. Thousand Hand Dan is like a hungry lone wolf, cruel and ruthless. Using the abilities he has devoured, he is like a life reaper for a moment, eroding the lives of these people. Devouring black bones. Senju-dan seized an opportunity, condensed the pitch-black bone spurs in his hands, and pierced deeply into the body of the Konoha ninja in front of him. The bone spurs directly penetrated his shoulder, and then the opponent's life force was quickly lost, and his blood the power was integrated into Senju-dan's body at a speed visible to the naked eye. The chakra consumed in this moment was actually replenished at this moment, and Senju-dan's eyes continued to lock on the next ninja. A river of blood flowed out of the meat grinder, and the smell of blood rose into the sky. Senju-dan was even more indifferent between enemy and friend. In just a few quarters of an hour, half of the Konoha ninjas died under Senju-dan. Only the dead. The ninjas in Wying village are not feeling well, and there are at least 40 people killed by Senju-dan. As the strong energy of chi and blood pours into him, the violence on Senju-dan becomes even more intense. The killings are still going on, more and more bodies are falling to the ground, and his strength is also increasing exponentially. However, this terrifying scene also awakens the ninjas of Kurikage village and Konoha village, and the two sides seem to have reached an agreement. Some kind of agreement, all of them rushed towards Senju-dan. Looking at the remaining 50 or so ninjas, Senju-dan not only showed no signs of panic, but instead put on a bloodthirsty smile. I'm tired of killing them one by one. Thousand Hand Dan sneered. These ninjas threw shurikens at Thousand Hand Dan overwhelmingly. Thousand Hand Dan did not dodge. Letting these shurikens pierce into his skin, the stinging sensation made Thousand Hand Dan even more excited. He suddenly clenched his hands, closed his eyes, and a rich red light burst out from his body. There was a wave of energy that even dispersed the rain. Black bone cuttings. Senju-dan suddenly opened his eyes. Two scarlet 3 Magatama Sharingan eyes were turning rapidly. The skin of his body suddenly split open. Dozens of scarlet-colored tentacles quickly penetrated the remaining 50 or so ninjas. The tentacles were still growing, crushing all the 50 ninjas alive. The violent energy and blood flowed back into Keonju Liming's body along the tentacles. Keonju Liming only felt a very strong burning pain in his eyes. Feeling. The power of chi and blood has reached its peak, and even just a few more Uchiha clan members can open the kaleidoscope in one fell swoop. The violent energy of chi and blood gathered in Thousand Hands Dan's body, but Thousand Hands Dan was not feeling well at the moment. Although black bone cuttings can kill enemies quickly, after using them, you will also enter a small period of weakness. You must wait until your body has completely absorbed the power of chi and blood before you can continue to act. Fortunately, Thousand Hands had already explored this battlefield before dawn, and there were no ambushes around it. The cold rain fell from the sky again, and blood flowed below. Thousand Hand Dan raised his head. The cold rain was stimulating Thousand Hands Dan's senses, slightly waking him up from the killing. It was not advisable to stay here for a long time. Thousand Hands Dan dragged his heavy body and rushed towards the cave that he had found in advance. When he came to the cave, Qian Hand Liming lay down on his back. Looking at his body that was riddled with holes, he couldn't help but smile bitterly. It seems that this move will be reserved for use in the future. But the Mangekyo Sharingan did not open, which made him slightly disappointed. Senju-dan also asked the system, and the system gave the answer that it must swallow enough Sharingan to open it. The night was already deep at this time. Keonju Liming closed his heavy eyes and fell asleep slowly, but there was always a faint red glow lingering on his body. These red lights were silently repairing his injuries, strengthening his muscles and bones, and his chakra was also growing. The next morning, Qian Hand Liming suddenly woke up. The pain in his body was no longer there, and he was now glowing with vitality. Senju-dan sensed his own strength. His energy and blood strength were strong enough, and based on his chakra reserves, he had already reached the level of a Junin. After leaving the cave, Senju-dan didn't feel any happy about reaching Jonin, because his strength was far from enough. You must continue to work hard. Thousand Hands Dan made up her mind and began to wander between the Kingdom of Water and the Kingdom of Fire. However, a plan has come to Thousand Hands Dan's mind. It is now the time of the Third Ninja War. It is not clear which year it is, but Senju Akira knows one thing. Uchiha Obito also died in this war, and was used by Uchiha Madara to begin his darkening. Kanabi Bridge. He must find Uchiha Madara first. Harness Uchiha Madara's power. Improve your own strength. After Senju Liming made up his mind, he took out the map from his ninja tool bag, determined the location of Kanabi Bridge, and started taking action. 2 days later, in a forest, Thousand Hands Dan was discovered by the root ninjas. The root of the ninja is indeed born specifically to kill, without any mercy or kindness in his methods, and his moves are deadly. And the opponents turned out to be all Junin. Although it is said that Senju Dan has reached the level of Junin, it is still a bit difficult to face more than a dozen Junin at once. Wind escape. The art of wind cutting. A ninja at the root quickly formed a seal and released it towards Senju Dan below. The sharp wind blade instantly cut off several tree trunks. Senju Dan hurriedly dodged, and his two eyes had transformed into three Magatama riding wheels. Water escape. Kurigakure no Jutsu. Senju Liming seized the opportunity and quickly released a Kurigakure technique. The thick fog instantly covered the forest. This ninjutsu was naturally swallowed up from the ninjas of Kurikage village, even the water the attributes are all acquired by swallowing. Senju Dan itself only has a fire attribute. It swallowed a wind attribute from Konoha Anbu, and now it has swallowed a water attribute. Is this guy really only 7 years old? A root ninja looked at the thick fog in front of him, and his face under the mask became more and more gloomy. This kind of strength is already comparable to a Junin, okay. Could it be said that this guy has a strength comparable to a Junin at the age of 7? Kurigakure assassination technique. It is not impossible for Senju Dan to use the fog shadow assassination technique he obtained in his Sharingan to counterattack. At this moment, he has already targeted a person with roots in the thick fog. Ninja. Senju Dan sneaked in quietly, and the root ninja didn't seem to notice, and was looking for it blankly. Closer. Closer. Senju Dan was half-crouching in the grass, with two scarlet sharing wheels. His eyes have been locked on his prey. The root ninja is walking towards Senju Dan in vigilance, but he does not seem to be a sensing ninja, so he naturally does not realize that the crisis is in front of him. In this mass of grass, Senju Dan's right hand has already been aimed at this root ninja. It's already within his attack range. Black bone piercing. A pitch-black pointed bone spur suddenly stretched out from the palm of his right hand. It pierced hard into the chest of the root ninja of that year. The root ninja screamed, and then he felt the loss of vitality, his brain also lost its will, and fell in a pool of blood. Senju Dan did not covet the power of blood in this ninja, because the opposite side was all Junin. If surrounded by the opponent, even if he releases the black bone cutting, he may not be able to catch up with their escape speed. Therefore, after killing this Junin, Senju Dan quickly left the area. Wind escape. Big breakthrough. Wind escape. Big breakthrough. Two root ninjas who could use wind release jointly performed a great breakthrough and broke through this layer of fog. But when they found the root ninja who screamed, the traces of Thousand Hands Dan had long disappeared. Gone. This matter must be reported to Danzo-sama. And there are corpses. A root ninja took a step forward, looked at the somewhat shriveled corpse, and said coldly. After speaking, he turned his head and pointed the three people out. You three take the body back to the root, and bring it back to the root. Tell Danzo-sama of Senju Dan's traces, and the rest of the group will follow me to continue the pursuit. After the root ninja finished speaking, he took the remaining few people, judged the direction of Thousand Hands Dan's escape, and quickly pursued him. The three ninjas at the root quickly returned to Konoha village with the bodies of their companions. After returning to Konoha village, he went directly to the roots of Konoha, and then reported the matter to Danzo Shimura. Shimura Danzo squinted his eyes and looked at the corpse in front of him, and learned from the mouths of these three root ninjas that Senju Dan had opened the Sharingan. I didn't expect that a child born from the combination of a Senju family and a Uchiha family would be able to awaken the Sharingan. Shimura Danzo murmured softly, and then said this with a slight frown on his face. The blood is not pure enough, he should not be able to awaken. Could it be that he transplanted the eyes of a member of the Uchiha clan? When Shimura Danzo thought about this, he felt more and more that this was a possibility. Otherwise, why would the ninjas sent by the Uchiha clan have lost their eyes? His body didn't reject it. Shimura Danzo's eyes reflected a glimmer of light. According to this, would his body not reject Hashirama cells? After Shimura Danzo thought of this, he quickly left the roots and came to the outskirts of the village. In a secret passage, this is a deserted place, and no civilians would normally come here, but now it has been transformed into a research base by Shimura Danzo and Orochimaru. Orochimaru has secretly started cooperating with Shimura Danzo. The target of the cooperation is naturally Hashirama cells. I really didn't expect that you would come to see me in person. Orochimaru put down the utensils in his hands and turned around with a gentle smile on his face. How is the study of these corpses going? Shimura Danzo glanced at the dozens of shriveled corpses in front of him. All the blood and active cells in the body have disappeared, and no powerful information can be obtained from the corpse. Orochimaru licked his lips, a pair of inverted pupils full of curiosity. I need Thousand Hands Dawn himself to be here, whether alive or dead, otherwise I can't continue my research. Orochimaru narrowed his eyes and said coldly. I see, Shimura Danzo nodded, with a hint of cruelty flashing in his eyes. It seemed like he had to go to the Uchiha clan. A few days later, Senju Dan was approaching the Canopy Bridge. But Konoha's pursuers have almost locked onto Senju Dan's position. Moreover, these pursuers seemed to have learned wisely and did not collide with Thousand Hand Dan head-on. They just kept a firm lock on Thousand Hand Dan's whereabouts. Similarly, Thousand Hands Dan also used this period of time to completely stabilize the abilities he had devoured. The current strength has reached the level of Junin, and the foundation is solid. If an ordinary Junin and Senju Dan duel one by one, then the opponent will definitely die. But Senju Dan knew deeply that if it were just the strength of the Jonin, it would be impossible to kill Uchiha Fugaku. And he didn't know whether Uchiha Fugaku had turned on the kaleidoscope now. When thinking of Uchiha Fugaku, Senju Dan only felt bitter hatred. Strength. My strength is still too weak. Kionju Liming stepped hard on the tree trunk with both feet. Under the cover of the night, his figure was like a pitch-black arrow, speeding towards the Canopy Bridge. At this moment, Anbu ninjas belonging to Sarutobi Hiruzen's faction also sent many teams to encircle and suppress Senju Dan. Roll your eyes. The team that came to encircle and suppress this time also included many members of the Hyuga family. After all, the ninjas of the Hyuga family can be said to be good at reconnaissance. They have Byakugan, which allows them to ignore the night and can also observe things within a 1-kilometer radius, everything within. Report to the captain. Found traces of Thousand Hand Dan. A ninja from the Hyuga family said quickly to the people around him. Contact other groups immediately. We must surround him. Yes. In the Hokage's office building, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the yellow-haired young man in front of him and said in a calm voice, You are so smart, you should know the reason why I called you here, right? Thousand Hands of Dawn. Namikaze Minato said in a low voice. Yes, that child should not have been born, but now he hates Konoha, so, Sarutobi Hiruzen did not continue because he knew that Namikaze Minato already knew what he was thinking. I see. Namikaze Minato nodded. At this time, 2 more Konoha Anbu appeared in the Hokage Tower. Sarutobi Hiruzen said to Namikaze Minato, Follow them too, they know that Senju Dan is at this moment. Direction. Yes. Namikaze Minato nodded again, and then followed the 2 Konoha Anbu and disappeared into the Hokage Tower. At this moment, after a night of traveling, Senju Dan finally arrived at Canopy Bridge and looked at the familiar sight in front of him. At the sight, Senju Dan frowned again, because Senju Dan didn't know where Uchiha Madara's secret passage was. Moreover, the Konoha pursuers who had been chasing him along the way also appeared at this moment. No wonder he was able to catch up with me in such a short time. With the participation of the Hyuga clan, Senju Liming quickly discovered that there were actually ninjas from the Hyuga clan among the opponent's pursuers. At this moment, 6 teams of Konoha pursuers surrounded Senju Dan. Each team had a standard configuration of 4 people, and all 24 ninjas locked onto Thousand Hands Dan. And each team is equipped with a ninja from the Hyuga clan. Sharingan. Open. Thousand Hand Dan knew that if he didn't kill these people here, then he would definitely be the one who died here. Now it's time to give it a try. A matter of life and death. Kionju Liming felt that the blood in his body began to get excited. It's as if he was born specifically to kill. Seeing the ninjas surrounding him in front of him, Senju Liming became even more angry. Now is the time when the Third Ninja World War breaks out. Instead of fighting on the battlefield, these ninjas actually kill themselves for the order of a high-ranking Konoha official. You must know that Kionju Liming has just celebrated his 7th birthday at this time. Thick clouds gathered in the sky again, and after a while, Raindrops as big as beans rained down hard. As even God crying. Keonju Liming took a deep breath. Even the biting cold rain could not cool down the temperature in Keonju Liming's blood. Do it. The Konoha pursuers didn't talk nonsense. The battle must be ended quickly. Senju Don's red eyes stared closely at the rushing ninja, and then he raised his head and shouted loudly. Ha ha ha. A bunch of beasts from Konoha. Today I will turn into Shura in the rain. Let me become your eternal nightmare. More than 24 Konoha ninjas have already received the highest order from the Hokage. If they can kill Senju Don, they must not show mercy. Because Thousand Hands of Dawn is beyond their control, they are afraid. Boom. The dark clouds in the sky have begun to gather thunder and lightning, heavy rain is pouring down, and there is endless killing below. 2 Konoha Jonins have already taken kunai and stabbed at the side of Senju Don. The two of them have no without hesitation, the kunai in his hand stabbed Senju Liming's abdomen fiercely. Black bone piercing. At this moment, a voice sounded like it came from the Juyu underworld. I saw the 2 palms of Keonju Liming, just facing the foreheads of the 2 Konoha Junin. The dark bone spurs in the palms instantly penetrated to the heads of 2 Konoha Junin. These 2 Junin didn't even scream, and their souls had already returned to Juquan. Ha ha ha. Keonju Liming looked at the scene in front of him and suddenly laughed loudly. Aren't you coming to take my life? Come. Senju Don's 2 scarlet Sharingan eyes quickly locked onto the next target, a ninja from the Hyuga family. Instantaneous technique. Senju Liming stamped her feet hard on the ground. She quickly moved in front of the ninjas of the Hyuga family. Can't your white eyes see through everything? Senju Liming sneered, and then launched the black bone piercer without mercy. A bone spur as black as ink pierced directly into the chest of this Hyuga ninja. Devour. Senju Don couldn't let go of this opportunity and quickly devoured this Hyuga ninja. Sure enough, a ninja with the blood succession limit has much stronger energy and blood power in his body. After Senju Don finished swallowing it, he immediately devoured this Hyuga ninja. The eyes of the Hyuga ninja were taken out. Looking at the eyes in the palm, Senju Don directly launched the cell devouring. Red tentacles appeared in the palm and quickly devoured the eyes, but there was no white eye, and it was only improved. It was just a flash of his own power. Seeing such a bloody scene, the remaining Konoha ninjas all stopped in their tracks. They couldn't believe that such a scene came from the hands of a 7-year-old child. Do you know what you are afraid of now? Keonju Liming laughed coldly. Show the courage you had when you hunted down my family. This is Konoha ninja. Bully the weak and fear the strong. Worse than a beast. Senju Don laughed loudly, but no Konoha ninja could say anything to refute. This is indeed the case. When he was chasing Senju Don's family, the opponent was not strong, but now the opponent the strength suddenly increased sharply, and this group of people in Konoha began to be timid again. If you don't dare to kill me, then I will kill you. Senju Don found that these Konoha ninjas were really timid, and even 2 Konoha Jonins began to show signs of wanting to retreat. Can the lamb you got allow you to run away? Senju Don came quickly again behind a Konoha Junin. This Konoha Junin was pierced through the chest by a pitch-black bone spur without even using his ninjutsu. In Hand Liming's body, Thousand Hands Liming only feels that he seems to have endless power. As long as he continues to kill and gain the power of blood, he will never be tired. Run. This guy is beyond our control. Finally, a Konoha Junin couldn't bear this feeling of fear. After leaving these words, he hurriedly fled towards the forest. When one person runs away, 2 people will run away. This is like triggering a chain. The reaction was the same, and all the remaining dozen or so Konoha ninjas began to flee. Do you know how to run now? The corners of Keonju Liming's mouth tilted, showing a ferocious look, and then turned into a jet of black lightning in the majestic rainstorm. Can you run away? Senju Don doesn't have to worry about the consumption of chakra at all. As long as he kills a Junin and swallows the opponent's energy and chakra, he can completely replenish his needs. For a time, this forest is going on. Following Senju Don's killing feast. Senju Don once again came to the side of 2 Hyuga ninjas. If it weren't for the ninjas sent by the Hyuga family, his traces would not have been discovered so quickly. Please don't kill me. Do not kill me. The 2 Hyuga ninjas were already kneeling on the ground, begging bitterly. Click. Boom. Suddenly there was lightning and thunder in the sky. In an instant, white light shone down. On one side were two Hyuga ninjas who were trembling with fear, and on the other side was Senju Dan with a cruel look on his face. Senju Li Ming stretched out his hands and put his palms on the opponent's forehead. The black bone spurs spread again. It was like two flowers bloomed on his hands. The hunting area continued to expand, and a tug-of-war suddenly formed. But the group of Junin in Konoha were running around, and Senju Dan turned into a lone wolf to hunt. On the other side, Uchiha Fugaku also learned the whereabouts of Senju Dan from Shimura Danzo. At this moment, Uchiha Fugaku has also mobilized more than a dozen elite masters from the family. This time, he must completely eliminate future troubles. How long until arrival? Uchiha Fugaku asked as he galloped through the jungle and looked at the root ninja on the side. According to previous intelligence, Senju Dan has arrived at Canopy Bridge. It can be reached in about 3 hours at our current speed. The root ninja replied. Good. Everyone speed up. Uchiha Fugaku nodded, then shouted at the dozen elite ninjas behind him, and accelerated again. On the other side, Namikaze Minato also set off from the Leaf Village with 2 Konoha Anbu, speeding towards the direction of Senju Dan. The heavy rain is still pouring down, and the forest near Canopy Bridge is already the battlefield of Senju Dan's incarnation as Shura. And the killing feast in the forest is. It's still going on. Ah! The shrill screams kept coming from the forest. At this moment, thousand-armed Dan seemed to transform into a bloody Shura, ruthlessly harvesting the lives of these ninjas. The blood has been covered with Thousand Hands Dan's body, and the thick smell of blood is like a stimulant, making Thousand Hands Dan even more excited. This forest is very large, and all the Konoha ninjas who fled before dispersed and fled, so it will take some time to keep all these people here. But fortunately, every time Senju Dan kills a Konoha ninja, it will swallow up the opponent's energy and blood. In this way, one's own functions can be replenished and chakra can be maintained in a sufficient state. Black Bone Devouring. Senju Liming looked at the last fleeing Konoha ninja in front of him with cold eyes, and the black sharp bone condensed in his palm pierced the opponent's head mercilessly. After absorbing the blood and chi power of the last Konoha ninja, Senju Liming felt that something inside his body was about to break through the skin. The last time he had this feeling, he got the black bone cutting. Senju Liming's eyes were stern. It seemed that as long as he swallowed enough blood and chi, he would unlock the corresponding skills. The rain was still washing the forest, and the smell of blood was pervasive. Senju Liming slowly walked towards the Canopy Bridge. I have to gamble. I have to gamble that Uchiha Madara saw me. In this way, I will be able to quickly improve my strength in a short time. Only strength can complete revenge. Thinking of the faces of the Konoha high-level officials and the attitude of the Uchiha clan, Senju Liming suddenly exuded a chilling hostility. Just a few minutes after Senju Liming left here, the dark and damp ground suddenly squirmed, and then a guy covered in white showed his head. It seems that I have to report this matter to Madara-sama. He said something in his weird voice, and then dived into the ground again. Senju Liming walked towards Canopy Bridge while absorbing the power of blood in his body. In the rain, Senju there seemed to be a faint red glow on Li Ming's body. On the outskirts of the forest, Uchiha Fugaku had arrived with the elite Jonin of the clan. The method is too cruel. An Uchiha tribesman looked at the 5 or 6 shriveled corpses in front of him. There were even 2 corpses with only deep holes left in their eyes. He must be killed. Otherwise, it will definitely be an unprecedented disaster. It is also a serious problem for our Uchiha clan. Another Uchiha clansman said fiercely. Everyone. Fully pursue. Uchiha Fugaku's eyes also reflected cold murderous intent. The Senju Dan cannot stay in the world. A large number of people quickly rushed towards the Senju Dan. It is already close at hand. The Senju Dan has also arrived in Kana near the bridge. There was a lawn, and Thousand Hands Dan also noticed something was wrong. There was movement behind the forest. Call out. More than a dozen wind-breaking sounds came, and Uchiha Fugaku brought the elites of the clan to the front of Senju Dan. Senju Dan also noticed the person coming, and after seeing that it was Uchiha Fugaku, his eyes immediately opened the 3 Magatama Sharingan. The whole body exudes boundless anger. The raging murderous intent roared out. The temperature between heaven and earth dropped a few degrees again. I didn't expect you to actually activate the Sharingan. Uchiha Fugaku looked at Senjudan indifferently. But when he said this, Uchiha Fugaku paused again, and then said with a cold expression, or, you secretly transplanted the eyes of a compatriot in your clan. No wonder all the Uchiha clan's eyes were taken out by you. I didn't expect your methods to be so cruel. Ha ha ha. Thousand Hand Liming suddenly raised his head and laughed, with boundless murderous intent revealed in his laughter. Fugaku, old dog. Why do you have the nerve to call me cruel? Who forced a 7-year-old child to have his family destroyed? The old dog is talking. Thousand-handed Don's eyes were red, and red blood began to burst out from his body, lingering all over his body. Ding! Congratulations to the host for unlocking a new skill, Chi and Blood Burning. Burn the power of Chi and blood to double your strength. Need to consume blood. Uchiha Fugaku was speechless by Senjudan. At the same time, he also felt the overwhelming killing intent of Senjudan, and then his eyes turned cold. Then he waved his hand and said to the Uchiha people behind him, everyone, come together. No one will be left alive. Ha ha ha. Thousand Hand Don laughed wildly again. The monstrous blood energy on his body suddenly spread all over his body like a blood dragon. And red blood energy also appeared on the surface of the body. At this time, Thousand Hand Don had already begun to use the blood energy burning. Thousand Hands Don felt the violent power in his body, the power that could destroy the world, and laughed loudly again. To deal with a 7-year-old child. Your Uchiha clan actually dispatched more than a dozen elite Junin. Because you are afraid. Because you are cowards. Because you are all beasts. After Senju Liming roared, he did not stop, but quickly rushed towards an Uchiha tribesman. The speed actually increased to an extreme. In just an instant, he came to the front of the tribesman. Kionju Liming could clearly see the other party's pupils that were trembling with fear. Devouring black bones. A bloodthirsty smile appeared at the corner of Kionju Liming's mouth, and he thrust out his right palm. A pitch-black bone suddenly stabbed out of the palm of his hand. It plunged into the opponent's chest. Blood continued to flow from the opponent's chest. Came out. Then it turned into a scarlet mist and merged into Senjudan's body along the dark pointed bones in his palm. The body of this Uchiha tribesman began to shrivel up quickly. Senjudan withdrew his right hand and killed him. He turned around excitedly and looked at the remaining people. You really have evil abilities. Uchiha Fugaku also looked at Senjudan in shock. He had never seen such an evil attack method before. The ability for evil. Senjudan curled up her lips and locked her eyes on Uchiha Fugaku. The restlessness in her body became more and more intense, and a strong murderous intention burst out. Next I want to show you. What is real evil? Thousand-handed Don suddenly clenched his fists, and a strong aura burst out from his body again. A strong wave of energy and blood was emitted from the center of Thousand-handed Don towards the surroundings. The rain in the sky also stagnated for a while. A rainless zone was actually formed around Thousand Hands Don. The blood is burning. Thousand Hand Don has completely released this move. Next is Shura's dominance. Thousand Hands Don only felt that the energy and blood in his body were losing crazily, but at the same time, the power he possessed was also increasing exponentially. He knew that Uchiha Fugaku's strength was far higher than his own, and he had an unknown kaleidoscope, so he had to try his best. This skill of burning chi and blood is similar to the 8-gate Dunjia. The 8-gate Dunjia requires a lot of practice to open the 8 gates in the body. Chi and blood burning is to forcibly increase your strength by burning the chi and blood condensed in your body. The only advantage is that you can close it by yourself, unlike the 8-gate Dunjia, which cannot be closed after opening the 8 gates. The overwhelming power of blood-red energy permeated Kionju Liming's body. Kionju Liming knew that he could not stay in this state for long, so he had to fight quickly. Fire escape. Magnificent fireball technique. Senjudan quickly formed a seal with both hands, and a huge fireball suddenly erupted from his mouth. Its power far exceeded the sea-level ninjutsu. The ninjas of the Uchiha clan did not dare to be careless, and they could also see the fireball in front of them. With such power, Senjudan quickly locked onto the two Uchiha tribesmen with the help of the fireball attack. Instantaneous technique. Senju Liming stepped on the soles of his feet, and his figure disappeared from the place like a ghost. When he reappeared, he was already behind the two Uchiha tribesmen. Black bone piercing. Two pitch-black pointed bones suddenly appeared in the palms of Senju Dan's palms, which pierced the chests of the two Uchiha tribesmen. As soon as the blow was successful, Senju Dan quickly left here and headed towards attack in the direction of the next Uchiha. This guy is so fast. Brother Fugaku. What should we do? The Uchiha people suddenly panicked. They couldn't even find the shadow of Senju Dan, so how could they fight? Don't panic, everyone. Release ninjutsu indiscriminately on a large scale. Uchiha Fugaku had already opened the 3 Magatama Sharingan at this time and began to quickly lock on the Senju Dan. The remaining dozen elite ninjas of the Uchiha clan began to release ninjutsu indiscriminately. For a while, the sky was covered with fire, but because of this, Senju Dan could not carry out the assassination. Uchiha Fugaku quickly locked onto Senju Dan, and then used a teleportation technique to come to Senju Dan with red eyes. Uchiha Fugaku once again condensed jet black sharp bones in the palms of his hands, and then used super speed taijutsu to attack Uchiha Fugaku. Uchiha Fugaku was very strong, so he was unable to face Senju Dan's attack. Being able to dodge with great difficulty, coupled with his mastery of shuriken skills, several places on Senju Liming's body were stained. Fire escape. The art of dragon fire. Uchiha Fugaku quickly formed a seal with his hands. After the seal was completed, he released a straight line of dense flames. The flames quickly shot in the direction of Senju Dan. Senju Dan quickly dodged, but after all, Uchiha Fugaku was very strong, so Senju Ame still suffered a little burn, which made Senju Ame even more excited. Fire escape. The art of dragon fire. Senju Dan will naturally use this move, and when the energy and blood are burning, the power is naturally stronger than Uchiha Fugaku's. The dense flames roared towards Uchiha Fugaku crazily. Uchiha Fugaku seeing this, he hurriedly dodged, but he was actually shocked. You know, Kionju Liming was only over 7 years old at the moment. Where did he get so much chakra? Could it be that he was really a super genius? Is it? Uchiha Fugaku feels that if he really lets it go, it won't be long before Senju Dan can really kill him. With this thought, Uchiha Fugaku no longer hesitates, he must kill this beast today. Here. Otherwise, it will be a big problem in the future. The remaining dozen Uchiha family elites also began to use ninjutsu on Senju Ame. It was because they didn't use ninjutsu before. He can use his devouring ability to swallow up all their energy and blood, but if he kills them directly, the effect will definitely not be as good as before. Fire escape. The art of impatience flower. Uchiha Fugaku released fire release again. More than a dozen dense fire bombs attacked Senju Dan. Senju Dan hurriedly jumped to the top of a big tree, and his hands began to form seals. Water escape. The water is turbulent. Senju Dan's mouth suddenly spurted out water like a waterfall, extinguishing the attacking flame bombs. Uchiha Fugaku was shocked when he saw this. He didn't expect Senju Dan to have the water attribute. Senju Dan Liming also knew that if he didn't kill these trash fish first, they would cause interference to him, and Qianshu felt that his power was beginning to lose some. Instantaneous technique. Senju Dan began to use the assassination skills he had swallowed from the Anbu to sneak into the forest. Uchiha Fugaku suddenly frowned. At this time, he was a little hesitant, because he didn't know what Senju Dan was. How many means are there? You two, go in and investigate. Uchiha Fugaku said to the two clansmen behind him. The two people looked at each other, hesitant. Go quickly. Uchiha Fugaku snorted coldly, with murderous intent bursting out of his eyes. He did not expect that his subordinates who usually obeyed him would hesitate at this moment. The two tribesmen could not withstand Uchiha Fugaku's pressure, so they had to take out the bitter who opened his Sharingan and walked tremblingly towards the dense forest. As the two of them continued to go deeper, they found no trace of Senju Dan. Call. One of the tribesmen exhaled heavily. But in the next moment, he couldn't breathe anymore. A long pointed bone penetrated from his chest. Ah! At the same time, a scream sounded in the mouth of his companion, and there was also a pitch black bone on his companion's chest. Devouring black bones. Thousand Hand Dawn launched the black bone devouring without mercy, and immediately swallowed up all the energy and blood of these two people. Then, Thousand Hand Dawn stretched out his right palm, and condensed something like a horse in the palm of his hand. Red tentacles, the tentacles are growing toward the eyes of the two people below. Cell phagocytosis. After devouring the two Sharingan eyes, Senju Dan hid in the dense forest again. On the outskirts of the dense forest, Uchiha Fugaku frowned. He didn't know what to do for a while. From the scream just now, it can be judged from the sound that the two tribesmen were in danger just now. The sky was still raining endlessly, and even the heavy rain could not wash away the smell of blood below. Deadlock. Thousand Hand Dawn lies quietly in the grass, like a jungle snake. As long as an enemy comes close, it will give him a fatal blow. Shoo shoo. Suddenly, several rapid blasts of wind came from the right side of Thousand Hands Dawn. Qian Hand Liming quickly jumped out of the grass and onto the tree without even thinking about it. But when he was halfway through the leap, a kunai suddenly stabbed him from above. Senju Liming had no choice but to take out a kunai from the ninja tool bag and touch it. After returning to the ground, Qianju Liming discovered that more than 30 ninjas wearing cat and fox masks rushed out from the right side of the dense forest. Konoha Anbu. Senju Liming frowned, and the anger in his heart became more solemn. He didn't expect Konoha to have gone to this step in order to kill him. More than a dozen wind-breaking sounds came, and Senju Liming turned around. It turned out that just now the battle has been noticed by the Uchiha clan, and now they have formed an encirclement, and he is in it. Lord Fugaku, we are sent by Lord Danzo to assist you in wiping out the traitorous ninja. A root ninja walked up to Uchiha Fugaku and told the purpose of his trip. Very good. In this case, he can be completely killed here. Uchiha Fugaku nodded, and then said decisively. The hostility in Senju Dan's eyes became more and more intense. Shimura Danzo. Unexpectedly, so many root ninjas were dispatched. First, Konoha's Anbu pursued, and then changed to the Konoha combat team, then the Uchiha clan, and now the ninjas at the root of Konoha. It seems that these people are very determined to kill themselves. Senju Dan gritted her teeth and stared. Chihong's body became increasingly violent. And the agitation in his body began to get more intense. It was as if he wanted to burst his body. At this moment, there were 3 more sounds of breaking wind, and everyone followed the sound. When I went, I saw a young man with yellow hair walking over with 2 Konoha Anbu. Namikaze Minato. Uchiha Fugaku was slightly startled. When he saw Konoha Anbu, he had already guessed something. The 3rd Hokage sent me here. Namikaze Minato walked over, and then looked at the surrounded Senju Liming. Looking at the opponent's overwhelming blood energy and the soaring smell of blood, he couldn't help but frown. Is he the thousand-armed Dawn? Namikaze Minato asked. Uchiha Fugaku nodded. Now we have control of the situation. As long as we kill him, the mission will be completed. Namikaze Minato also nodded solemnly. The hostility in him is too strong, we can't let it go. Just when everyone thought that the mission was about to be completed, the surrounded Thousand Hands Dawn suddenly looked up to the sky and laughed wildly. Ha ha ha. That face again. Such an ugly face. Thousand Hand Liming's body suddenly erupted with strong murderous aura. This murderous aura swept through the world. Everyone present felt a chill down their spines. It was as if they were being targeted by the god of death. A feeling of helplessness and powerlessness filled their bodies. His heart grew. Uchiha Fugaku was even more shocked. Because this was not an illusion, but the opponent's strong and substantial murderous intention. Senju Akira smiled coldly and looked at Uchiha Fugaku and Namikaze Minato. Just a beast and a Konoha lackey want to kill me. Come and kill if you have the guts. The surface of Thousand Hands Dawn's body began to crack inch by inch. The powerful thing in the body seemed to want to break through the body and escape, and it was still destroying Thousand Hands Dawn's body. He will always have this ugly face. What a sanctimonious look. A gesture of justice for heaven. Because it harms your interests of Konoha. Are you just going to kill them all? The skin on Thousand Hands Dawn's face also cracked at this moment, and blood was flowing all over his body. At this moment, Thousand Hands Dawn seemed like a demon that had just crawled out of hell, with a violent aura and substantial murderous intent, like the god of death. It's like coming. Not good. Namikaze Minato seemed to have noticed something, and quickly took out a special three-pronged kunai from his ninja bag. Uchiha Fugaku also noticed something was wrong, and hurriedly retreated. But the remaining ninjas, they were not so lucky. While they were frightened by this terrifying murderous intent, a sound like the nine netherworld exploded around them. Kisu cuttings. Thousand-hand Dawn roared. Endless black tentacles suddenly sprouted from the cracks on the surface of the body. The hardness of these black tentacles far exceeds the hardness of black bones. And the speed is extremely fast. They grow like vines. There are nearly countless of them. Hundreds of black tentacles instantly penetrated the bodies of everyone present. Ah! The shrill screams resounded throughout the sky. All the people who were pierced were without exception, and all the energy and blood in their bodies were swallowed up by these red and black tentacles. Black tentacles continue to grow in the bodies of these ninjas along their meridians. Intertwined and intertwined. After swallowing all the chakra and active cells in the enemy's body plus some organs. Then continue to look for the next target. But at the same time, Thousand Hands Dawn is also suffering from inhuman pain. This skill was activated just when he was about to die, Chenshu cutting. When used, the skin will crack, and hundreds of black tentacles will emerge from the crack. These tentacles have powerful devouring abilities. Whether it's cells, blood, or chakra. All can be swallowed. Its power is linked to the power of chi and blood released by itself. At this moment, Senju Akira had the attitude of killing Uchiha Fugaku and Namikaze Minato, so he directly drained all the energy and blood in his body. From this we can imagine how powerful this move was just now. However, at this time, Senju Dan's consciousness began to blur. After all, this move drained all the chakra and blood power from his body. He was lucky not to die. The heavy rain in the sky continued to wash away this area. Thousand-handed Dawn held up his eyelids and looked around, but no one survived. These black tentacles began to return to Thousand Hands Dawn's body with the overwhelming power of chi and blood. The injection of violent energy caused Thousand Hands Dawn to completely faint before he could roar. At the same time, a strange sound sounded in the heavy rain and wind. What a terrible destructive power. What a strong willpower. This is the person Madara-sama is looking for. Thanks for watching.